Guys like that. Hey, dog. What? Okay, I'll pet you. I'll pet you. You make sudden noises like, I gotta be petted. Pet me now. Right now. Okay. Uh, oh, what up? Okay, go on. Don't interrupt my video. Okay, I'll pet you. She's like, you were petting me and you stopped? Why would you do that? Okay, I got a video to make. And, obviously, it's about how to defeat terrorists. And there's a couple of things on this that I try to come to a realization of everything out of truth. I don't want that. I don't need that. I don't need it. You take it. There you go. Bring the truth that my dog's a pest. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. Go on, Lacey. Go on. Yeah, goof. Yeah. Comical dog. Comical dog. But anyway. There we go. I try to be as realistic about things and think about them in the gray area, not in the black and white. Because the problem I find, you cheat yourself if you just go to like the echo chamber of everybody agreeing with each other, or the complete dissonance of not agreeing with the other side or whatever. But somewhere in the middle, there's something that's going to be true that both sides can't deny. And that's what I try to get to as much as possible. Everybody has their biases. There's no doubt about that. I won't even play that I don't have biases. But when I look at the world, I look at it as the bigger picture, not so much as the individual or the individual events or whatever, but the bigger picture. And I was watching a show called Through the Wormhole, or something like that, with Morgan Freeman. And they explore like scientific stuff. And one of the things they were working on was how, where terrorists come from, how they're networking, how their ideology and all that stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that they came up with in there, and how to defeat them. And the conclusion that the scientists came up with was exactly what I came up with: do nothing. Now, do nothing doesn't mean inaction. The thing is that what I mean by do nothing is, for example, over there in the Middle East. Now, we know because of the Greater Israel Project. If you don't know what that is, some people were asking what it was. In short, the very extremely short of it is that basically, if they can balkanize the Middle East and break it up into all tiny little tribal regions, and this is like John Kerry talking about right now, dividing Syria up into this, a place for everybody in the Middle East, right? But the idea is to make them so small that they can never rise as a state against Israel. And that's what Israel wants. So it's not so much about Israel expanding its borders. It's about other people being, taking the wind out of the sails of the other. So if they're so small, like, tribal regions, picture a country the size of, say, New York City, or half that size, something like that. Then, it's big enough, but it's not big enough to be a threat to, the nation state, another nation state, right? So that's part of it. So in order to accomplish this, one of the big things is that the terrorists have been armed by the United States and Israel and stuff like that. And by arming them, that's doing something, right? That's action. And of course, that leads to the death and destruction of tons of people. Now, going back further, with the war in Iraq, which, believe it or not, is a part of the Greater Israel Project, these things don't play out in 5 minutes. They take decades, sometimes a century to accomplish, right? It's stepping stones. It's always stepping stones. The invasion of Iraq in 91, the Desert Storm, was a phase of it to destabilize the Middle East. It was one of the phases. And Iraq pretty much fell. And when it fell, there was a lot of, jihadis and stuff like that, but not like we see today. You have to look at a couple of things. Is these guys, the mentality's been there for 1,500 years for some of these jihadists. Other of these jihadists are mercenaries. Other of these jihadists are people avenging their families that have been killed by, Hellfire missiles. So what enables terrorism, it's not as complicated as people think. Some of it is kind of complicated to understand what's going on. But when you understand back out of it a bit, you understand it a lot better. So what they came up with was, it wasn't the radical terrorists at the top that were really enabling and allowing the terrorist groups like ISIS and stuff, which now is called Al-Sham. The United States keeps changing the name and calling them moderate rebels. So it's all these new groups, but it's the same guys. So they're all terrorists. But anyway, the thing about it like that is these guys up at the top, they're connected to so few people that they really can't spread the message. They really can't do all this stuff. It's who they network with that makes the difference. And what they found was not the radical guy at the top. It was usually going to be some kind of lukewarm guy who's still functioning in society, and in the sense of they still have a daily job. They still communicate with their family. They still go to work, that type of thing, and go shopping, go to school, they do all these things. But yet they're such a common man, and they're in society in such a common way that if they can find anybody sympathetic to the cause, they can be like a sorter to here. We know this guy's slightly sympathetic. Let's send him over to this guy here who's a little bit more, but not too radical. It'll chase him away. This guy's a lot more radical. I can send him right to the Grand Poobah type of thing, and like that. So that's the guy that makes the biggest difference. So these guys become linchpins. If you pull them out of the equation, it disables the system. It's the thing it's the glue that binds everything. And that's what they found. It wasn't the people at the top that made the networking possible. It was people somewhere in the middle that were kind of, in all worlds, so to speak. So enablers, for example, if you want to create a terrorist, and by fighting terrorism, well, again, you're talking about a nation state fighting an ideology. Can't work. You can't. An ideology can fight an ideology, a state can fight a state, but one's really not capable of fighting the other because they're on two different playing fields, right? They're not really attached. So with ISIS, you have to understand the U.S. drone strike program, when they strike a target, they have a 30-to-1, it might be higher than that now, a 31 kill to asset. Well, they're willing to accept that much collateral damage. Now, you have to understand, collateral damage doesn't just mean buildings and stuff. Collateral damage usually means killing innocent people. And they're willing, if there's an open market and there's a terrorist there, they'll hit that guy with a Hellfire missile or whatever and kill 30 people around, and they'll say that's acceptable losses. Now, if you're the drone pilot and your boss told you that's acceptable, you go, okay, I'll go kill people. Whatever. A lot of drone pilots are quitting. They're having a hard time keeping drone pilots. A lot of drone pilots commit suicide as well once they realize what they're doing. It'd be different if you were taking out just terrorists, but when you take out, a wedding party, whatever, even if the terrorist is there, like the Afghan president, the previous one said that, yes, goof, would you puke? That, in the States, when they go after a drug dealer or a cartel guy, they don't, they don't do a drone strike on him, take out half the freaking village. Or they go kick down his door, haul him off to jail, put him in court, give him his trial. Well, we don't do that with the terrorists. And yes, we should, but how do we do it? Well, we can't really do it because, terrorists aren't, we can't just walk into their country easily and just arrest people. At that point, you're talking massive boots on the ground to be able to do that. So that becomes an enabler. But that's one thing that if you were to remove the drone program and use it in defensively, and only if you could clearly get the one target you were going after, then possibly it would dampen that. But the problem is even when you kill a terrorist, terrorists have families. Their sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, whatever. And mom and dads and whatever. It always breeds the next one. It becomes a hydra. You kill one and 10 more show up in revenge, right? So that's why that system doesn't work. Now, the guys at the Pentagon and the CIA and all that, they know this. That's why they do it. They want to create as much destabilization as possible. Again, for the Greater Israel Project. That is a very important tool to understand why we're seeing what we're seeing. That type of thing. So with that, you get an idea of how it breeds itself. So the war on terror is basically a scam. And the reason why they do it on this side is because they know you can't beat a war on terror. It's a perpetual war, meaning war being a racket, they're going to make tons of money off of this. People's lives aren't valuable to the military-industrial complex. The idea, it's genocidal. It's completely genocidal. We have weapons. We have to justify buying these weapons. In the spending programs. It's genocidal. Now, the other thing is that when you have all this going on, okay, they also found that whenever you had a failed state, the group that would rise to the top would be the one that fought the hardest, the one that was the most ruthless, the one that was always, and this goes back to the Roman Empire, whoever was the most ruthless usually came out on top and was more likely to expand. The one that had the better military equipment was more likely to expand, and that you can clearly see. The United States is in how many countries right now? So you can see that when that happens, the state actor becomes tyrannical just by nature. They even conducted a couple of tests where they got people to wear blue shirts and red shirts, and they asked a series of questions, such as, Sally was sitting on the park bench and she got caught in the rain. Now, imagine yourself with a blue shirt on, okay, or imagine yourself with a red shirt on. Imagine you're looking at the person on the opposite side. So you hear that statement, and what they would do is just give a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you felt bad for Sally getting caught on the bench in the rain. So most people go thumbs up, feel bad for her, whatever. And then they would say, Mike, who was on the red team, got caught on that same bench and he got caught in the rain. And the people on the blue team would go thumbs down right away, and vice versa. They would ask the questions like that. Yes, dog. So it's already becomes in-group preference, that type of thing. The blue team, red team. Very basic, but that's where it starts, right? Come back in, or you're just being a barky face. You don't hear the cats barking. Dog barking. Because he's over there. Big lump in the middle of the yard. If you felt an earthquake the other day, it's because my cat jumped off the deck. He's kind of fat. But anyway, I don't know if you can see him over there. I don't know how you can miss him. He's like a freaking ball. Ball with legs and a head and a tail. Yeah, poor little guy. He only eats naps like 12 times a day. Yeah. Eats 15 times a day. But anyway. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so they looked at that study, and they found how quickly people will identify in a group, and how easy they become, I guess, religious to that group, religious in-group preference, that type of thing, and how it solidifies as a singularity. And with this singularity, that's where you get these radical groups. Social justice warriors, they're a singularity. I call them the Hydra, or I call them useful idiots, because they're not right dangerous yet, physically. To a degree, they are. I mean, when they go out, they protest, they throw Molotov cocktails, they smash police cars, etc., etc., etc. But they're in that religious kind of euphoria, and in their comfort zone of that group that they believe is righteous and whatever in their belief system. And that's the problem. Everybody thinks they're right. You know what I mean? So that's one way to look at it. So with the jihadists and stuff like that, it's the same thing. It's a religion. They become very cult-like and very Hydra-like. If you ever seen that movie Captain America, where Hail Hydra, they worship one idea. They don't stray from that at all, and they basically you can't reason with them, you can't bargain with them, whatever. Social justice warriors, the same thing. Now the problem is I see the social justice warriors moving into a Trotsky mode. So at some point they're going to become very, very, very violent revolutionaries. Organized, maybe yes, maybe no. That's not really the question. But the group that does organize the best will be the one that will take the most power. Which usually what happens is they either dominate the area and rule and eventually win, or there's a backlash and the other group fights until they win. And whichever group wins is going to completely decimate the other group. Now this plays out to a lot to what we're seeing in Europe right now. Right now, I don't know why they're doing this in France, but they're taking down something like 2,800 old churches. Like, we're talking like 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, like churches from way back, old cathedrals and stuff like that. They're just knocking them down. Why? I don't know, maybe for construction, but however, they're resurrecting mosques at a lightning rate, right, all throughout Europe in the name of political correctness. At some point, it's not going to be for political correctness, it's going to be conquered. Now, the divide and conquer is not really what I'm going for here of, okay, it's Muslims, it's Muslims, it's Muslims. No, that's the thing is just look at the bigger picture of what we're going to see. Clash, clash, clash. And it hasn't really taken full it has because one group is already organized. For example, you can grab jihadist A, jihadist B, grab them, drop them in the middle of nowhere, and they know what the idea is because they've been following that ideology for 1,500 years. Not those individuals, but the ideology goes back to 1,500 years to the time of Muhammad, and they're taking on that part of it, the jihad part of it, and they can spin it into a modern day version of it, but they're basically becoming conquerors. And that's why they're so quick to organize when you take a guy from this side of the world and bring him over to that side of the world. They already know the common, they might have some tribal differences, but the common goals, the blueprint, they both understand very, very well. Very well. And then drop them into a sea of people who have no clue of what's going on. It's much like a Viking raid. It really is just complete chaos. And to the point where the Vikings, if you looked at them, they were the same thing, in that sense. They were marauders and raiders and very well organized, and they had a lot of firepower for their day. The good swords, very good battle tactics. Many battle tactics that the Vikings used 1,000 years ago are still deployed today. That's how successful they were. That type of thing. So it was more tactical with the Vikings, slightly guerrilla warfare, but and hugely psychological warfare. Where if you were to take ISIS, there's mostly guerrilla tactics, fairly well coordinated, and again, off the charts when it comes to psychological, right? So people don't know how to deal with it. So the thing is that you have to understand that at some point, force is going to meet force. And this is my second time making this video, and I want to get the point across so that people understand what they're looking at. Now, you can call me racist, bigot, whatever, is fine. I'm just the messenger. I'm just the guy looking at this. You can disagree with me if you like, that's fine. But what I look at, and I can, like I say, the biggest human culture clash in history we're in the early throes of it. It hasn't really taken place yet, but it's getting there. The thing that we're going to see, and we're seeing the starts of it, what they call far-right movements, really are upper nationalistic left. Now, the problem with that is that people think it's a far-right movement. It's not a far-right movement. It's not libertarian. It's not anarchist. It's nationalist. It's very, very, very high left-wing. Nationalist, maybe nationalist fascist, nationalist socialist, whatever. But it's definitely nationalist. National. Whether it's white nationalism or state nationalism, it doesn't really matter. It's nationalism. And that's what's on the other side of the jihad. Problem is they're not organized yet. They're organizing. Right now, it's going to go, first it's people are concerned. And the mind will naturally try to rationalize things, such as, okay, well, these refugees are flooding in. I know some of them might be jihadists, but we're going to help more people than whatever, so we'll take a risk. But then when you start having skin in the game and your citizens start getting killed by these unvetted jihadis coming in, and that's what a lot of them are. They're fighting age men. There's no doubt about it. They're an army. So they come in, so people, at first it's refugees welcome, and then it's like, well, don't blame the refugees because it's not all of them. Then it's like, okay, well, we still have to help because the altruism, the nihilism of altruism is completely off the scale in Europe because they don't want to be racist and bigot. Their old ideologies are being broken down. The ideologies of racist, bigot, and stuff like that. It's brought them into a false world. And the people, and this is something that I've said, and I say it so that people will get it. And if they get it, they get it. If they don't get it, whatever, to go over their head. But white people are the least racist they've ever been in history, hands down. We are much safer now than what we were 400 years ago. Way less barbaric, that type of thing. But it doesn't mean things can't just snap back to the way they used to be. Kind of like a zero tolerance, very rigid kind of society that puts up with nothing. That will come out of this. There's no doubt about that. And it will be very brutal. You're either in our group or you're dead. That type of thing. So you have all these people that, particularly we'll use Germany for the example. After World War II, they got beaten over the head by the Holocaust and, don't be a Nazi, don't be a racist, all that, and, be politically correct or else, you're going to be, your name is mud. And to tell you the truth, yes, it was psychological warfare. You see it all over the place, racist, bigot, misogynist, xenophobe, homophobe, thisophobe, thatophobe, everywhere, phobe, that type of thing. And a lot of people, they took on that belief system, that you can't be You can't speak out because you might hurt somebody's feelings. You might do that. But what they're not ready for is that the people coming in don't care about your feelings. They're not coming in to debate and talk and stuff. They're coming in to kill, plunder, rape children, rape women, grope women, steal things. Like they're coming in to do a lot of bad stuff. Is it every one of them? No. But there's just so damn many of them that are, like, I can't even keep up to the daily cases of the crime sprees that are going on over there in Europe. So it's not about me being racist, big or whatever. I'm just saying, look at the chaos that's going on right now. So is it all of them? Doesn't have to be all of them. There's enough of them. There's enough of them creating destabilization. Now, the rest that come in with them don't really do anything to help the matter either. So the one bad apple theory will apply to them at some point. It's just the people are coming to the realization where it's like, Kazoo, what? Yeah, I already fed you. Don't know if you can hear my cat meowing, but he's like, I don't know why animals are always interrupting my videos, but anyway. So, case in point is you have all these people that don't live in the world or understand the world of people that are coming in. That don't, the people that are coming in are coming from a kill or be killed kind of world, a very Mad Max society. Even the ones that are in war, their countries are still, like the North Africans. North Africa is pretty much burning right now, but there's a lot of it. What's up, buddy? Yeah, it's too early for treats. But anyway, it's like the people coming in, they think they can reason with these people. They think, will you? Enough. Come to my finger. Yeah. Yeah. You're interrupting the video. So anyway, people are coming in. Yeah. You're not your liking? Okay, be gone with you now. Okay, watch your head. Watch your head. I'll hit you with this. There we go. So, so people are thinking, well, if we just give these people opportunity, if we just give them chance, if we just give them this, give them that. But it's not about that. It has nothing to do with that at all. It has everything to do with the ideology that's coming in is radical, and it's organized. So right now you've got, I think, France, although they won't officially say it, the police officers are saying it, everybody else is saying it, there's about 700 Sharia no-go zones in France. And I say, well, yeah, but it's not really Sharia law, it has nothing to do with Islam, it's all Muslims in that group. It doesn't matter if it's based on Sharia. That group has taken over that area. If you want to keep it simple. See, but you have to understand when people say, oh, well, it has nothing to do with Sharia law or like that, it's just the criminal gangs, that's all it is, it's nothing to see here. Again, that's a way of rationalizing not to have to deal with what it is you're really looking at. But if you can deal with what you're really looking at, yes, it is radical Islam there. Yes, it is a conquering army coming in. Yes, and again, you could just listen to them. And that's the part that blows me away, is if you listen to these people coming in, they're there for their welfare. They're there, they're not hiding it. So yeah, we're here because Angela Merkel invited us, and my balls are swollen, so I'm going to have to go rape some women. I have a sexual crisis. You can't even make that stuff up. And then, of course, the children getting raped. Here in Canada, it's like the Syrian refugees are there's a crisis throughout the country in the schools. Mainstream media isn't going to, because again, you can't make hairboy Trudeau look bad, right? Gazoo, be quiet. So yeah, we got these, Syrian refugees that are actually from Syria, most of them. And they're fighting in the schools, they're attacking the girls, they're doing all kinds of horrible things. And again, the Canadian boys, they're in that, oh my God, well, we're supposed to accept these people. Again, that ideology is being broken down. People are in crisis. They don't know how to deal with these people. It's like these, we'll take refugees over racists, or rapists over racists. People have changed the girl's sign. So those people, again, they're in a utopianistic world, and a normalcy bias that cannot grasp what they're looking at. So we get an idea of what we're looking at now that we've discussed it. And I can go on and on and on and on. But the bottom line is the two tribes are going to go to war at some point. Who are the two tribes? Well, one tribe is an Islamic tribe, caliphate type of thing, that they're talking about, an Islamification of the world. Now, the thing is the enablers, again, those linchpins, okay? Who are the linchpins in this thing? The ones that allow this thing to flourish. Well, guys like George Soros. Guys like George Soros spend billions of dollars to get the refugees from North Africa and Libya and all that into Europe. So if George Soros wasn't doing that, and others like him, there's not just him, there's a lot of them doing that. If those people are removed, then that part, it slows down. So in other words, if you're not doing that, meaning doing nothing, you're not doing that, it slows down. It slows down the flow of migrants. The second thing is the people offering welfare to the migrants. If you get rid of the welfare, this is the most nonviolent way you could stop most of this problem. Now, there's going to be violence no matter what. I'm not calling for it, but it's gotten so out of control there already is violence. Like you see it on a daily basis. There was a lady or something hacked up by a migrant, like blood all over the apartment complex. There was a couple that was, hacked to pieces, literally hacked to pieces after they took a migrant in. The list just goes on and on. And migrants come in to people's households and they rape their children, and there's all kinds of horrible things going on like that. These are not normal actions, and they're not isolated incidents. This is a conquering army coming in doing what it does. They're the barbarians coming in. So the people that give the welfare are encouraging these people to come in. Ones that would probably stay home if there was no welfare. The people that are hiring these people are encouraging the people to come in. So these are the enablers. These are common people. These aren't people way up the top. The people way at the top can't be supported unless they have people down here to get that going, right? Another example would be Hillary Clinton would be in jail by now if it wasn't for the people in the Department of Justice running defense for her, or the mainstream media running defense for her, et cetera, et cetera. You remove those people fall. So it's not even really a blame game, it's strategy of who needs to go. And by go, I mean, with rule of law, of course. People who've done illegal acts. George Soros should be on trial for crimes against humanity. One charge, death and destruction of people and nations. Put him away for 10,000 years. The reason why I'd rather see rule of law restored, that become the new radical idea of restoring rule of law, even if it's hard and even if it means, yes, you're going to divert to racism and stuff like that. It's going to be very, very, very specific and harsh. But that's the least painful way to go. Although, at this point, it doesn't matter which way you go. There's going to be death and destruction no matter which way you go. It's just, do you want more or do you want less of it? So the next thing is, if you wanted to use drug dealers as an example, just so you can see what the picture I'm trying to paint here. You have your drug cartel. Well, this guy really can't do much unless he has somebody to make those products for him. And those people who make the products can't really go out into the open because if they do, they're going to get arrested. So they take the drug cartel then delegates to these guys. These guys then go to the common drug dealer on the street, the guy who knows everybody, the linchpin. So really, if you want to take down the cartels, you take out the pushers. Yeah, exactly. My cat agrees. You take out the pushers. And when you take out the pushers, the drugs can't go anywhere. Their empire falls. Is it that cut, dry, and easy? No. But that's where you need to concentrate your area of focus, right? That type of thing. So we get the idea. These are the linchpins. The other thing is that the clashes that it will lead to, like I say, white people have been the least racist they've ever been in history, but that is starting to slowly turn. And you're seeing people that would normally call themselves progressives or liberals or whatever joining the so-called alt-right. Now, the alt-right is still, everybody's arguing about, no, it's white nationalism, that's all it is. To me, no, it's not. It's more than that. It is nationalism, there's no doubt about that. But there's various forms of nationalism, because you have natives that are alt-right. You have, alt-right can take place anywhere. Japanese are alt-right. You know what I mean? Chinese are alt-right. Maybe their government's communist, but I mean, they put themselves first, right? Their needs, their nation, they put their ideologies first. So in that sense, they're identitarians. Identitarians can be cultural or it can be ethno. It can be either. But the thing is as that group grows, you see it in the faces of Pegida, EDL, alt-right. One is not necessarily in each group, but you could see that, and like the AFD there in Germany and stuff like that. You're starting to see people line with those ideologies. Now, the people at the top of these, people would probably call radical. You even see with UKIP or whatever, they call these people radical. Problem is that's the radicals are really the moderates. It's because those are the people that's the masses. The masses people are always in the center. But the thing is it's the masses of people that allow things to happen. Case in point, when Donald Trump was asked by the Muslim lady about the war on terror and his stance on Muslim immigration to the United States, and he talked about how one of the terrorists had all kinds of bombs and stuff all over his apartment out for everybody to see. He goes, people saw that. Nobody said anything. So, you know what I mean? The people are coming to that realization that, okay, maybe you're a good person, sure, and I would still say, yeah, most Muslims are non-violent. You don't have to worry about them, but you have to vet them to know who they are and what they're doing in your country, that type of thing. So at some point, there's going to be no Muslim immigration allowed into Europe or into any place. There's going to be an expelling of Muslims out of Europe. There's no doubt about that. It's just, is it now or 3 to 5 years from now? I say in 5 years, you're going to have civil wars throughout Europe. And those civil wars, people are going to have to choose, are you in the social justice warrior camp, which you'll get killed because you'll be caught in the crossfire? Those jihadis don't really care about you. The third wave feminists, trust me, you see the third wave feminists now already starting to wear, become Sharia compliant, because they know, I think deep down they know that if these people take over, we're not going to have a choice. So let's make it look like we're going to it willingly now. But that's the kind of people they are. They're completely nihilistic anyway. But they are also such traitors to their own that they're not going to be accepted. Being politically correct, I think, in 5 years gets you a punch in the face. I'm not threatening anybody. I'm just saying. I think because people have broken that first window, the rest are going to, they're just starting to throw rocks now. And I call it the penguin effect. One jumps off the iceberg to see if there's any killer whales or sea lions in the water. Nothing in the water is fine. The rest jump in, right? Now, so it's like a monkey see, monkey do. So once the group grabs the ideology that it's acceptable to fight back, then they will. That's the thing. But it always takes, out of many comes one, but out of many comes one. Meaning you get your individual that will lead, good, bad, whatever, doesn't really matter, and then they unify in a singularity, and out of many comes one. So that statement has a couple of meanings to it. So that's kind of the meat and potatoes of how things are going to happen. And I've said this 10 times. If I didn't care, I wouldn't say nothing. So, again, if you're basically a minority of any type, let alone Muslim, in 3 to 5 years, Europe is going to be a dangerous place for you. In 8 to 10 years, you will be in danger in Canada, because this can only go on for so long before people switch ideologies. And I'm pretty sure this is how all 9 other crusades went. And there were some crusades, they took 100 years before they responded. Hopefully this time around, even with all the brainwashing, I think because society is narcissistic in general, particularly in this day and age, rebellion, I think, is easier to actually, like a lot of people think, oh, everybody's just a sheeple and they're going along to get along. That's true to a degree, but I think sparking a revolution, because people are such individuals, it's so easy to get people riled up and then fling them into this category, fling them into that category. Again, George Soros, enable Black Lives Matter, fling them into this category, we get this kind of destabilization. These people know this. They know clearly what they're doing. Nothing is by accident. But that said, yeah, there will be a biggest human culture clash. I'm still predicting England for the big clash, like 20,000 on 20,000, beating each other with baseball bats, board with a nail in it, guns, knives, hammers, chains, lamp. Watch for the lamp, because you're going to see someone beating somebody with a lamp. It's going to be that kind of a fitful rage. But that will be the first Crusader battle. There will be many Crusader battles before that. And how do we know this is a crusade going on? Well, simple. Listen to the jihadists. We're coming for your Crusader nations. We're going to attack your Crusader nations. We're going to take your Crusader women. We're going to rape your Crusader children. We're going to kill you, behead your Crusaders. Crusader, Crusader, Crusader. They're on a crusade. They're on the 10th Crusade. It's pretty. Well, at least they know. But that's the thing. They're organized. They already know this. It's only a matter of time, though, before the other side accepts that's what it is. And when they do, that's when they say, okay, well, then we have to fight back. And at first, again, you're seeing every step to do it peacefully at first. Protest. Protest doesn't get anywhere because the enablers, the government, like Merkel or whatever, you can't, still bringing people in. Still bringing people in. Trudeau, still bringing people in. They're enablers. These are the, yes, they're up at the top. But really, like Trudeau, he's not up at the top. He's following George Soros' plan. I mean, the Trudeau government, you had John McClellan talking about their good friend George Soros. Anybody that refers to George Soros as a good friend, that's evil incarnated right there. And John McClellan, I'm not a fan of very much. I think he probably pulls Trudeau's strings more than anybody else. Him and Chrétien, I think, are the ones really probably running the show here in Canada, because you see Chrétien popping up all over the place now. Why? And yeah, so. is what it is. It's the old world order. They call it a new world order, but it's not. It's an old world order, and they're trying to maintain. But the thing is they're nihilistic and they don't realize their own demise. Now, how do you beat once this clash takes place? How do you beat the terrorists and stuff? Getting back to the meat and potatoes of the video. Well, we know what the setup is and why it's there. And again, I've told people, again, if you're a minority, 3 to 5 years, it's going to be a dangerous place for you. I can't give you a better warning than that. Take that as what have a plan, get out of there. If I was truly a racist, I wouldn't have said anything because I'd be like, yeah, these people are going to be getting killed left, right, and center. I'd say nothing. But I don't like people killing people for no reason. All of this is really kind of lunacy when you think about it. It's insanity. There's no reason for it to really be happening, but it's happening. So you have to deal with it. So the best way to deal with it is understand what you're dealing with first, and then you have to take actions. So what actions do you take? So how do you defeat ISIS? Well, you do nothing. I've said it several times. You get out of the Middle East completely. Yes, lots of people are going to die. But then the tribal lines will basically reestablish itself, and things will calm down. It might take a couple of years, but it'll calm down. The second thing is the jihadists, because these are a death cult, if they cannot fight people in their homelands, they fight each other. They've been doing it for thousands of years. Again, they're still following the same ideology, right? So that's what's going on there. So we know that, and we had a general or a CIA guy go, well, we can't just let them kill each other. Well, they're going to do it anyway. It's like, it's not being heartless here. It's like, actually, less people are going to die. It's a horrible decision to have to make, but less people are going to die if you do nothing. Now, that comes in on the action part. Has got to be on the border side. In other words, if they cross the Mediterranean, they die. Meaning, you come to my country, here's a front door. If you want to make a refugee claim, we're going to take you, put you in an internment camp until we figure out who you are. And if we can't figure out who you are, we send you back to country of origin. No questions asked. Even if that country says they're going to put you to death. So you make examples of people so that only legitimate people, the standard is set that if I don't do this right, I go back home, they're going to kill me. So trust me, you're going to get genuine people. People aren't going to risk it if to the degree if they think they're going to have lose everything. If it's not going to be a benefit for them. And I'm not talking about welfare. I mean like for survival. If it's not going to, they have no choice. Okay, well, I'll take my risk from them sending me back because if I stay here, I'm going to be killed by whatever group it is. So okay, so you can help those people. And then you have a repatriation program so that you can go free for now, but we know who you are, welcome to our country, but you're not going to, even if you have kids here, whatever, they're not going to become citizens. You're going home as soon as the war is over. That type of thing. That type of thing. And you have to do that. It has to be done. It has to be done here in Canada. It has to be done, and it will be done. It's just a matter of time before people come up with a concept, right? So that's the other thing. So you isolate the Middle East. You don't intervene in the Middle East. You don't arm the people you fight in the future. And that's what we're doing. Again, how long is it going to be before the ISIS guys start shooting down U.S. jets and stuff like that, and blowing up U.S. troops with their own weapons, like the TOW missiles and stuff like that? Well, then people are going to start asking about policy questions. Well, why are our guys getting shot by our own M16s with ammunition supplied by Israel? Guys are going to get pretty pissed off that, which sets us up for a military coup in the United States. And this is also, the reason why I know that is because you look at the recruitment in the United States and worldwide, it's the lowest it's ever been in Western countries because people know what's going on. So when your son or daughter comes back home after he got shot by a U.S. supplied M16 to the moderate rebels, well, if they were moderate rebels, why are they shooting at our guys? You know what I mean? And they do from time to time. So that type of thing. So that's going to have and that becomes a stepping stone to the other stuff I talked about when they start fighting back. And it will become extremely, extremely genocidal. It doesn't mean the people that are going to expel the Muslims from Europe are going to be peaceful. No, these people are radical begets radical. That's the thing you need to understand. So that is, but it will happen anyway. It's going to happen anyway. It's just what date doesn't happen, I don't know. But you'll see a few Crusader battles first. And what I'm talking about, and there's some people, they don't see it. They're like, Reg, I don't see this death and destruction you're talking about in Europe. If you don't see it, you're not looking for it. It's not going to be on the mainstream media. It's almost daily that you could see these things. Is the whole country torn apart, every single inch of it? No, because but in Sweden, how many cars were burned in the past 2 weeks in Sweden? What, 200 cars in the Sharia no-go zones? You got hand grenades thrown at police. You've got machine gun fire at police. They can't even get in there. In France, and also too, you have what you call it, something like 12,000, something like 12,000 Swedish police officers that have quit. So what does that tell? The phone over here is louder. Yeah. I think it's on for the. Takes forever for my friggin'. Anyway, so we're in the bathroom here. Oh, sorry, did I smack you at the door? You're just trying to be a buddy and follow along. Sorry. That's because of that stupid noisy phone, eh? Smacked my poor cat. He smacked him in the head. It's a good thing he's cushy there because the door just bounced off him. Okay, there we go. So anyway, the thing is though that what was I saying? Lost my train of thought. All these distractions. The thing is that yeah. So you don't do anything in the Middle East. You just leave them to their own devices. Yes, it will be death and destruction for a lot of people, but I think eventually the tribal lines will stabilize. And the proof is in the pudding. Is you have to think, okay, before 1991, before we destabilized Iraq and then Afghanistan. I mean, those were already hard countries, particularly Afghanistan, because after the invasion with the Soviets, it was still rebuilding itself. And the Mujahideen, who was armed by, you guessed it, the United States, with Zbigniew Brzezinski's grand chessboard there, and Kissinger and all them, and imagine Soros was in on that too. Eventually, when Desert Storm took place, Apache helicopters were getting shot down by Stinger missiles, and everybody thought it was friendly fire incidents, but there was no American troops in the area, and then it came out, oh yeah, by the way, we armed the Mujahideen, who the Taliban overthrew, and now we basically, the Mujahideen pretty much switch sides, and we thought they were good guys back then, but now they're not so good, and they're shooting at us. And once again, we've taken the Taliban off the terrorist list, and I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The Taliban is now considered the good guys in the Middle East. So you can see what I mean. Like it's completely insolvent, right? And Al Qaeda has also been taken off the terrorist watch list. Preppers and Christians and stuff like that, and constitutionalists in the States are on the terrorist watch list, but not Al Qaeda, because the United States is arming Al Qaeda. And again, we're arming the people we fight in the future. But these people, they would run out of bullets, they'd run out of weapons. There's a lot of weaponry there, don't kid yourself. We were talking decades before it runs out. But it dies down pretty quick. Why? Because a 200-round belt of 7.62 runs out very fast at 12 rounds a second. You know what I mean? It doesn't last. So you take the money out of the Middle East, they go back to sticks and stones very quickly. That type of thing. So you isolate it. You don't let them out. They have to work out their problems themselves. That's one thing. The other thing is, yes, they're going to kill each other. As soon as the United States can no longer back ISIS, the Syrian Arab Army is going to completely crush them, and they will become the ruling army there again. And when they do, trust me, there will be stability in the region. I'm not saying it will be a paradise to live in, like under Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was not a nice guy to live under, but the crime rates were really low there because it was such an authoritarian regime. He was stability in the region, much like Muammar Gaddafi. So this is one of the things that you have to factor in. Let them rule it. Okay, leave them up to get out of the Middle East. Oh yeah, but there's terrorists there. We have to get the terrorists. No, just leave them. If the terrorists come out of the Middle East, get them. You surround them. You cross this line, we just shoot you. We don't care. Man, woman, child, just mow them down with a machine gun. That type of thing. And that's what's going to come to anyway. Then people say, okay, well, we're going to have to make this work somehow. That type of thing. Now you can help them rebuild a little bit. That type of thing. Once it's stabilized, say, okay, well, we'll get you some food. We'll get you some means of making water, whatever. If they don't want it, don't force it on them. Let them, that type of thing. Best to just let them up to their own devices. Do nothing. And isolate the Middle East so that, you don't have, anybody coming off an airplane to the Middle East. You're going to go through, yes, it's going to be racist and bigot and stuff like that and anti-liberty, and I get that. But it's what's going to happen anyway. It already kind of is happening, right? So you already got the TSA, so there's going to be scrutiny from anybody from the Middle East. Who are you, where you're traveling, where you're going, that type of thing. Anybody that goes missing after they get to their destination, when you track them down, you put them in jail for 50 years for terrorism. If they miss their departure date, right? Like not accidentally. They ran and hid in this, area where, again, you had that ISIS leader walking around Molenbeek for 2 months with the community knew who he was. They clearly knew who he was. So those were these moderate enablers. So this guy, he wouldn't be able to walk around like that in that area if it wasn't for the moderate people allowing it, right? So you see what I mean. So that said, they have to repatriate people that are coming in. All these people living on the streets of France there, yeah, you got to kick them out. And they got to seize the boats that are coming across. Seize the boats that are coming across, round these people up, put them in an internment camp so they can't just run amok and run freely, then put them on a ship, send them back. And any ship that's caught smuggling, you stop it. All these RAFs, people funding the RAF programs, put them in jail, Soros and all these other things, that stuff will go away, and it'll stabilize, and less people will die. Wait, because I mean, even the people floating across Mediterranean, how many times have you heard a boat of 500 just drown? You know what I mean? Okay, you might not like the people, but it doesn't mean you necessarily want them to die. Some people too, but that's the thing. Once people get to the point where they want each other to die, then you're going to have war, that type of thing. So that's the thing, is to do nothing in that sense. Now, and not that I'm agreeing with them, and it pains me to say so, Justin Trudeau said something, when you fight the terrorists, they win. Now, he is correct in a degree, but not the way you think. He's using Mahatma Gandhi's out of context, I believe. First they ridicule, then they bash you, then they fight you, then you win. That's Mahatma Gandhi. But what people, and a lot of leftists I find really don't understand Gandhi very well. This guy was hardcore nationalist. he was a nationalist Indian, big time. But he understood the value of passive resistance. And it worked. It worked because he understood what he was doing. Other people, they think of it just as, just allow yourself to be abused. No, he was making a point. He was making a huge point. He was showing a lot of things that most people won't get. But he wasn't doing it for himself. He was doing it for his nation. And that's the difference. The difference with the leftists is the leftists do it for narcissism. They do it for themselves. That's why, although they are kind of a part of a singularity in the social justice thing, but they turn on each other, they have no loyalty. Whereas if you look at groups like ISIS, they have loyalty. The far-right groups, they will have loyalty in the near future. Why? Because it's not going to be about their individualism. It's going to be about the group and the groupthink, which could be good, could be bad. I think when the Europeans do decide to fight back, you have to understand the European governments are going to fight its own people over the foreign invaders, which then makes the people twice as radicalized. And in that sense, it's going to be, God help anybody, even their own kind will be put to death when, again, and the thing is what this is leading to, if we don't do it my way, is, and it's not just me who thinks this, there's a lot of people that think this too. If we don't do it my way, the alternative is you're going to have European armies genociding all the Africans, all the Middle Eastern. It could be war for like the next 50 years. But we're not talking, we're just going to strike terrorists. No, we're going there to dig ditches. One guy's going to drive the bulldozer, the other guy's going to drive the truck with the machine guns and the ammo, and we're just going to put people in front of ditches. Genocide. So, again, I've always said the stepping stone to every genocide in history starts with the banning of freedom of speech. And this is where, like I say, when we're talking about the Hydra, you can't reason with them, you can't bargain with them, whatever. You have people that think that they can still use logic and reason against these people. But again, they're not fighting on the same level. These Muslim invaders that are coming in that are jihadist mindset to destroy Europe, it doesn't matter if it's all of them. A handful is enough, one bad apple theory, right? When they come in, okay, and you're like, well, maybe we'll just give them more welfare. Maybe we'll just give them a better place to live. Maybe we'll just give them better opportunities of schooling and a job. Maybe we'll give them, they don't want that. That's not what they're there for. So once people come to the realization that we've exhausted all resources, and it's going to take a while, that there's nothing you can do to stop these people from doing bad things. They're there to do bad things. That's what they're there to do. They're there to destroy your nation. They say, just listen to them. Just listen to them. Is it all of them? No, I know it's not all of them. So but it is what it is. It is what it is. And because of that, when push comes to shove, the government, no European government is going to be able to withstand the populist uprisings. And the people, like for the AFD, the lady at the head of the AFD, I can't remember what her name is, she's talking about, putting machine guns on the borders for Germany, that type of thing. So today it's just speech, and you got all these anti-racists out there. Oh my God, she's a genocidal maniac or something. And they're right. She is going to be genocidal if she ever wins, because the masses are going to be okay. Maybe not all of them. There's going to be protests for sure, but the protesters just protest. You know what I mean? They're not action. They're just protesting. But the masses are going to be the linchpin. Say, well, if they want to shoot the migrants coming in on the boats, fine. I mean, there's going to be gunboats in the Mediterranean. It's just a matter of time. And the problem is all these migrants that are in Europe, they're not going to be able to get out because they're going to be killed trying to get out of Europe. It's going to be a bizarre thing to see, but why? Because it's like, oh my God, a migrant got murdered. Well, we'll investigate that next week, maybe. Right now we're kind of busy. There's somebody was accused of racism or something. We're going to go investigate that. So they're going to spin it. They're going to spin it. You can see it coming. You see it coming. So, yeah, Trudeau is right. If we fight them, it's exactly what the jihadists want. So if we don't fight them, that's how they turn on each other. But the thing is if they can't fight in their own country, they have to go outside the country. So you can't let them get out of the country. You protect the border. You keep them corralled into where it is they are, and they either wipe each other out. For example, if you corral ISIS and leave them in Syria, whatever, at some point, yes, and same with Libya, you get on their borders, and if anything comes near the border, man, woman, or child, you just mow it down. Zero tolerance. It sounds very cruel, but less people get killed in the long run. That's coming anyway. It doesn't matter. Again, it's not what I want. I wish none of this was happening, but that's what's going to happen. And you can clearly see it stepping in that direction. So the best way to stop it, again, is by getting out of the Middle East and isolating the Middle East, and then repatriating your borders, repatriating migrants, send them home in the boatloads, give them a care pack, and away you go. It's cheaper in the long run, and it's also safer for everybody in the long run, including the migrants. And you're also not setting people up to take risks to get to your country and die in the process either. So you save way more lives doing it this way. But that's just my take on it. Will we do that? Probably not. No, we're going to have a war and everything else. Why? Just law of history. The odds are in that favor of war. So, but anyway, it is what it is. So anyway, if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation channel. Links down below. Thank you so much to everybody who has. Next to that, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to others. Be true to yourself. Be true to others. Always do the right thing. And have yourselves a great day. Good day and welcome. There, hopefully you guys like that. Hey, dog. Okay, I'll pet you. I'll pet you. Make sudden noises like, I gotta be petted. Pet me now. Right now. Okay. What up? Okay, go ahead. Don't interrupt my video. Okay, I'll pet you. She's like, you were petting me and you stopped? Why would you do that? Okay, I've got a video to make. And, obviously, it's about how to defeat terrorists. And there's a couple of things on this that I try to come to a realization of everything out of truth. I don't want that. I don't need that. I don't need it. You take it. There you go. Take the truth that my dogs are past. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. Go on, Lacey. Go on. Yeah, goof. Yeah. Comical dog. Comical dog. But anyway. There we go. I try to be as realistic about things and think about them in the gray area, not in the black and white. Because the problem, I find you cheat yourself if you just go to like the echo chamber of everybody agreeing with each other, or the complete dissonance of not agreeing with the other side or whatever. But somewhere in the middle, there's something that's going to be true that both sides can't deny. And that's what I try to get to as much as possible. Everybody has their biases. There's no doubt about that. I won't even play that I don't have biases. But when I look at the world, I look at it as the bigger picture, not so much as the individual or the individual events or whatever, but the bigger picture. And I was watching a show called Through the Wormhole, or something like that, with Morgan Freeman. And they explore like scientific stuff. And one of the things they were working on was how, where terrorists come from, how their networking, how their ideology and all that stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that they came up with in there, and how to defeat them. And the conclusion that the scientists came up with was exactly what I came up with. Do nothing. Now, do nothing doesn't mean inaction. The thing is that what I mean by do nothing is, for example, over there in the Middle East. Now, we know because of the Greater Israel Project. If you don't know what that is, some people were asking what it was. In short, the very extremely short of it is that basically, if they can balkanize the Middle East and break it up into all tiny little tribal regions, and this is like John Kerry talking about right now, dividing Syria up into this, a place for everybody in the Middle East, right? But the idea is to make them so small that they can never rise as a state against Israel. And that's what Israel wants. So it's not so much about Israel expanding its borders. It's about other people being, taking the wind out of the sails of the other. So if they're so small, like, tribal regions, picture a country the size of, say, New York City or half that size, something like that. Then, it's big enough, but it's not big enough to be a threat to, the nation state, another nation state, right? So that's part of it. So in order to accomplish this, one of the big things is that the terrorists have been armed by the United States and Israel and stuff like that. And by arming them, that's doing something, right? That's action. And of course, that leads to the death and destruction of tons of people. Now, going back further, with the war in Iraq, which, believe it or not, is a part of the Greater Israel Project, these things don't play out in 5 minutes. They take decades, sometimes a century to accomplish, right? It's stepping stones. It's always stepping stones. The invasion of Iraq in 91, the Desert Storm, was a phase of it to destabilize the Middle East. It was one of the phases. And Iraq pretty much fell. And when it fell, there was a lot of, jihadis and stuff like that, but not like we see today. You have to look at a couple of things. Is these guys, the mentality's been there for 1,500 years for some of these jihadists. Other of these jihadists are mercenaries. Other of these jihadists are people avenging their families that have been killed by, Hellfire missiles. So what enables terrorism, it's not as complicated as people think. Some of it is kind of complicated to understand what's going on. But when you understand back out of it a bit, you understand it a lot better. So what they came up with was, it wasn't the radical terrorists at the top that were really enabling and allowing the terrorist groups like ISIS and stuff, which now is called Al-Sham. The United States keeps changing the name and calling them moderate rebels. So it's all these new groups, but it's the same guys, so they're all terrorists. But anyway, the thing about it like that is these guys up at the top, they're connected to so few people that they really can't spread the message. They really can't do all this stuff. It's who they network with that makes the difference. And what they found was not the radical guy at the top. It was usually going to be some kind of lukewarm guy who's still functioning in society. And in the sense of, they still have a daily job. They still communicate with their family. They still, go to work, that type of thing, and go shopping, go to school, they do all these things. But yet they're such a common man, and they're in society in such a common way that if they can find anybody sympathetic to the cause, they can be like a sorter to here. We know this guy's slightly sympathetic. Let's send him over to this guy here who's a little bit more, but not too radical. It'll chase him away. This guy's a lot more radical. I can send him right to the Grand Poobah type of thing, and like that. So that's the guy that makes the biggest difference. So. These guys become linchpins. If you pull them out of the equation, it disables the system. It's the thing it's the glue that binds everything. And that's what they found. It wasn't the people at the top that made the networking possible. It was people somewhere in the middle that were kind of, in all worlds, so to speak. So enablers, for example, if you want to create a terrorist, and by fighting terrorism, well, again, you're talking about a nation state fighting an ideology. Can't work. You can't. An ideology can fight an ideology, a state can fight a state, but one's really not capable of fighting the other because they're on two different playing fields, right? They're not really attached. So with ISIS, you have to understand the U.S. drone strike program, when they strike a target, they have a 30-to-1, it might be higher than that now, a 31 kill to asset. Well, they're willing to accept that much collateral damage. Now, you have to understand, collateral damage doesn't just mean buildings and stuff. Collateral damage usually means killing innocent people. And they're willing, if there's an open market and there's a terrorist there, they'll hit that guy with a Hellfire missile or whatever and kill 30 people around, and they'll say that's acceptable losses. Now, if you're the drone pilot and your boss told you that's acceptable, you go, okay, I'll go kill people. Whatever. A lot of drone pilots are quitting. They're having a hard time keeping drone pilots. A lot of drone pilots commit suicide as well once they realize what they're doing. It'd be different if you were taking out just terrorists, but when you take out, a wedding party, whatever, you